Hello, this is Olav from Alfa Virus. Today I'm going to talk about resetting the ECU. I'm going to talk about a little bit of what the ECU is, what can happen to the ECU, and why you may want to reset the ECU and how to actually do this. I would like to point out that this is the procedure on my car, which is the Alfa Romeo 156. And I think this procedures goes for all the different motors, engines you can have on the 156, and also the Alfa Romeo 147 and the Alfa Romeo GT. However, if you have another model, I'm not quite sure what the procedure is, but I recommend that you do a quick Google search. There's so much information you can find online, and this actual procedure is quite easy. I actually found this procedure on an online blog. I just googled how to reset the ECU, and I found this a very easy description. So first of all, what is the ECU? I think it's short for engine control unit or something like that. But basically, what it is, it's an computer, and what it does is like back in the old days, you had like your carburetors on the engine. And the carburetors would make sure that you have like the right mix between air and fuel going into the engine. However, it was a little bit problematic because that could change with different weather conditions, and sometimes you would get dirt into the carburetors and the engine wouldn't run properly, and sometimes not even start. And speaking of which, this Alfa Romeo 156, the Busso, is very reliable. I mean, I've been using this car all year round up here in Sweden, and even when I had like -20, it would start like on the first go. So that's no, it's a really strong engine. So, but this ECU, like any other like electrical or computer device, it can get what can I say, like confused or hung up, like you can have your smartphone or a laptop or whatever. Sometimes it just hangs up, and what you want to do is to restart it, because then it goes back to like the default setting. And this is what I'm going to do now. For those of you that have seen some of my other videos, you may have seen that once I started my car, I had this problem with this warning signal. I think because I was changing some of the exhaust system, I didn't properly connect the air intake before I started the engine. Then it sounded like an error code. It was something like engine control unit failure or something like that. I was a little confused because I started the car, I got this error code. Then I like disconnected the battery, and I thought that would like reset the car or the ECU, but it didn't. Even the second time when I started it, I still had this annoying error code. So, but then I realized I had actually done this before a long time ago. I did this reset, and to reset the ECU it takes a few more steps. I did get the first step right. So the first step is to disconnect. Let's see if I can get some light here. This is the negative lead here on the battery. You just want to disconnect it. It's very easy. You just use on this particular battery. It's a 10mm spanner. Let me just get that. Here we go. And you simply just want to disconnect this negative lead. You don't. There are two leads. This is negative. This is the positive. You don't need to disconnect both. It's enough with one of them. So yeah, here we go. Just loosen that and just lift it straight off. You can see here there's a minus symbol, like a negative lead. This is the one. After you've done this, what you want to do is you want to leave the car for at least 45 minutes, and this is important. You can leave it for longer than 45 minutes, but at least 45. Then after you've done that, what you do is you just reconnect the battery again. Just reconnect it here and then tighten it. You get the deal. Then what you want to do next is you want to start the car. And what you want to do then is, this is important, you don't want to touch the throttle, because that will, well, this is just a procedure to do it. It's a little bit strange, but you just don't want to touch the throttle because this reset procedure has to follow certain steps. So start the car, leave the throttle, leave the engine going just on idle for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, just switch off the car, and then you'll just leave it. Don't do anything with it, just leave it turned off for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, then you have actually reset the ECU, and then you want to take the car for a drive. And when you take the car for a drive, it sort of relearns the steps on how to get the correct mix between air and the fuel. So you want to like not only drive it slowly, but you want to like rev the car, and yeah, do different types of driving styles, like slow and hard gas and so on, just to let the ECU learn the new settings. But once you've done that, you will actually have resetted the ECU. And thankfully, this really helped, because that engine code is now, it's disappeared. Hooray! That's really nice. There's also a way if you want to reset the throttle, and it's almost the same procedure as this ECU reset. And you may wonder what the throttle reset is, and what it is like on these modern cars, you don't have like a cable that runs directly to the engine, but you have what is called like a fly-by-wire system, which is when you press the throttle, there's like a small computer reading the signal, and then it sends it by well, it's by a wire, I guess, to the engine, and then the engine reads the input. And sometimes I read about people having troubles with, sometimes if the car runs a little roughly on idling, and if you can't find like anything else wrong with it, it might be like that setting has been disrupted. What you want to do then is like you want to do this same procedure, but there's also like you want to leave the key in not full ignition, but MAR, like before you turn off the car, turn on the car for 90 seconds, and then off with the key inside for another 90 seconds. I'm gonna leave a description below, so you can check out the procedure, so you get it like step by step, because I realized I just maybe I was a bit confusing about this throttle reset procedure. But just to reset the ECU, that's actually fairly simple. Again, disconnect the battery, leave it for 45 minutes at least, then you reconnect the battery, start the car, and don't touch the throttle. Let the car run, let it idle for 15 minutes, switch off, leave for 10 minutes, and take it for a drive. And that's it. The good thing about this is like you don't really need any special tools, and it's quite effective. And well, it helped me with this engine error codes thing. So that's really good. This car is it's getting close to being road legal. I'm getting optimistic. So I guess there's only just, well, actually there's three things. I heard like a little weird noise coming from the car. I think it has to do with me working on the brakes. I think that a brake shield that's protecting the brakes from water and dust, I think that's a little bit loose, because something was making like this clacking noise. I'm gonna look into that, but if I can figure out that, then there's actually just a few more things to do, just 2 or 3 more things to do before I can get this car on the road. So stay tuned, and fingers crossed I can get my Alfa back on the road. Okay, Thank you. See you. Bye bye.